Some trials over the past year touched this chamber very personally. With us tonight is one of the toughest people ever to serve in this House. A guy who took a bullet, almost died, and was back to work 3.5 months later. The legend from Louisiana, Congressman Steve Scalise.
How great. President Trump recognizing House Majority Whip Steve Scalise for his bravery in the aftermath of being shot during a congressional baseball practice back in June. He received a standing ovation in the chamber last night. And joining me right now is House Majority Whip, Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise. Congressman, wow. Thank you so much for joining us. You are an amazing man, by the way. You really are.
Thank you. It was just what a touching tribute by the president. And look, Maria, I've gotten to see that side of him literally since hours after I was shot. President Trump and Melania went to the hospital and consoled my wife when I was fighting for my life. And he would just randomly call me from the hospital to say, how are you doing, Steve? Just checking on me. And most people don't get to see that side of him. The mainstream media doesn't want to show that side of him, but that's how he is. He's a genuinely warm person, and what a nice gesture for him to say that.
It was beautiful. It was obviously incredibly well-deserved. I was expecting it because you are like Superman to have come back to work so soon after that horrific situation.
Well, you're fighting for your life for 3.5 months, and after a while you start wanting to get out of the hospital, but you want to get back to the things you love. And my kids were there with me a lot, so I got to see them, but I really wanted to get back to work, and I was able to get back to work. So God's been good to me, and it's just fun to be a part of what we're doing right now to get this country back on track. This is a rare opportunity in the country's history. Not often do you get these kind of chances to turn a country around, and we were heading in the wrong direction. I mean, you've talked about this a lot. Every quarter for 8 years, less than 2% growth, and people just figured that's as good as it's going to be. I mean, America's declined, and we haven't. There was just a desire for somebody to turn it around, and President Trump came and did it. And look at how much economic opportunity there is for people all across the spectrum. The American dream is alive and well again.
It is alive and well, and you see the numbers. We just got the ADP numbers out, 234,000 new jobs created in the month of January, which was better than expected. But employment, he said 2.4 million jobs created under his leadership over the last year.
Yeah, and people sat down for that, and just the disgraceful nature of the way that Democrats didn't want to cheer for anything good happening in the country.
I couldn't believe they didn't wake up.
Because Trump might get credit for it. Well, we should all celebrate when the country's doing well, and the country wasn't doing well for a long time, and it is now. And it's really exciting to celebrate and to see the people that President Trump brought in his box with Melania. Just the stories about what's great about America.
Yeah. What stood out to you? I mean, you gave the president's speech an A+, right?
Oh, I did.
So what stood out for you mostly? I was expecting the economic stuff because that's been obviously one of his best successes.
I did too, yeah.
The rollback in regulation and the jobs that we've seen. But what else did you?
I thought the inspiring tone. Just the way he delivered the speech from start to finish. If you care about America's greatness, you were standing up, and I got a great workout last night, just popping up and down.
Up and down, right?
Because there was so much to celebrate, and the way that the president was inspiring people. And he said, get back into the workforce. If you're somebody who was forgotten, the forgotten men and women are who really elected him president. And he said, I'm going to fight for you. And look at now what opportunities there are for people who are forgotten. And he encouraged people, if you gave up on the workforce, which millions of people did under Barack Obama,
look at the
he said, it's time to come back. We want you to come and be a part of the American dream again. And people have that opportunity again. So that inspiring tone, I thought, was something uplifting to a lot of people who probably felt for a long time that there was no more hope left for them, and now there is.
One thing that I keep saying is I think that the Democrats are going to have to explain why they voted against the tax plan, why they shut the government down, and why it is that they will not acknowledge the progress that we've seen economically, at least.
There's so much great progress. And look, the tax cuts, for whatever reason, after they voted against the bill, they should have said, you know what, maybe it's going to actually help some people in the middle class. They're still denying that it's helping anybody.
Right.
And all these people that are getting this $1,000 bonuses or pay raises, they're literally scoffing at that, calling it crumbs. Nancy Pelosi was asked the other night, what keeps you up at night? And she said the tax cut bill. I mean, my goodness. I mean, if she is so disappointed that people are getting more of their money back and they're happy about it, what does she really want? Does she want that money to stay in Washington so she can control it for them? she doesn't want them to have that control back.
Well, we should point out if the Democrats win the majority, she will become Speaker.
She
This
is
is
still
important for
looming
people
out
to
there.
understand.
Yeah.
Now, one of your favorite moments was when the president spoke about the Cajun Navy. Let's talk about that. Let's listen to this.
We saw the volunteers of the Cajun Navy racing to the rescue with their fishing boats to save people in the aftermath of a totally devastating hurricane.
Why did this stand out to you?
You know, we've seen in Louisiana through some of our hurricanes and floods, the Cajun Navy, and this is just people who came together and they saw a need and people were flooding and there was no way for government to get in and help people. So they had their little flatbed boats or their bass boats, but mostly it was people that just said, you know what, I've got an ability to go and kind of deploy a boat of my own, and me and two of my buddies are going to go and help rescue people. And next thing you know, there's 20 of them and there's 40 of them and they're on social network.
Wow.
And people are just answering the call going, wait, I've got a little boat that I can deploy too. And so they did this in Louisiana. And then when the Houston hurricane hit that just devastated thousands of people, they didn't wait a minute. They had their own trucks with their boats, and they brought their own gas because they knew, you know, we're going to run out of gas and there won't be any along the way. And they just went straight to Houston and went as far as they could. And once you saw water, they got in their boats and went and rescued
That really
people. It's
is
just
the American
the
way.
greatness of America, Maria.
That's exactly right. I was glad that he brought up ISIS. I think this is an important point to recognize. This was not Obama's playbook. The president took a different play, and he basically gave it to the generals and made the generals make decisions about ISIS, and now they are actually on the run.
You know, and this is something that the president, again, doesn't get enough credit for, is his foreign policy successes. ISIS has been a tremendous success in how he has aggressively rooted them out. And it took criticism for this aggressive plan, and it's worked. But, you know, look at just the terms of deployment, or the terms of engagement for our men and women in uniform. They were literally told to stand down in many situations, and yet they're out there training and they're out there in the battlefield. And you would hear from our men and women in uniform saying, you know, I'm out there in Afghanistan or somewhere else, and I can't actually do my job.
Right.
And President Trump said, we're going to take those crazy policies away and let you go do what you're trained to do. And it's having great success. And then the aggression towards North Korea and Iran, bullies around the world. When he said something that many presidents promised to do but never did, we're going to actually move the capital of Israel into Jerusalem, which is the nation's capital.
That took courage.
It took courage, and yet you saw the applause last night for that, because there's tremendous support. And it actually helped a lot of other countries, friends of Israel, to finally say, you know, we need to do the same thing too.
Yeah.
And if we're ever going to get Middle East peace, you've got to take Jerusalem off the table as a trading bloc. And many Palestinians think they're going to get it as their capital. It's the capital of Israel, and we finally, I thought, saw in President Trump making a strong stand.
Real quick, what's most important to you in terms of a DACA deal and immigration deal?
Number one, you got to secure the border and fund the wall. But on the DACA side, to me, I think you ought to say, okay, we're going to give you a legal status. If you want to become an American citizen, you can get in line like anybody else. You won't be treated differently. You can't get ahead of anybody, but you can get in the line and you don't have to leave the country. That would be a big improvement over current policy. And then end chain migration and the lottery system. That would be, I think, a good deal.
Congressman, it's great to see you.
Maria, great to see
Thank
you
you
up
so
here
much.
in D.C., and great to be with you.
Thank you. Congressman Steve Scalise. We'll be right back.